My name is Alex Stone, and I'm 35 years old. For as long as I can remember, my family, my parents, my older brother Mark, and my sister Jessica treated me like their personal piggy bank. Every crisis, every whim, every financial shortfall, I was the first and only phone call. But last Tuesday, when my father called demanding I bail them out of their latest failed business venture with a six-figure sum, something inside me finally snapped. What happened next didn't just expose their long history of entitlement. It revealed a secret that left everyone, including a highly sought-after bank manager, completely speechless. Before I tell you how I went from being the family's personal ATM to having them beg for my forgiveness, please take a moment to like and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy stories about people who stop being a resource and start being a person. I'd love to know if you've ever felt like your family only values you for what you can give them. Drop a comment below. I read every single one. Now, let me take you back to that Tuesday morning when everything changed. I was sitting in my apartment, staring at my company's quarterly earnings report. The numbers were staggering. My phone rang. The caller ID showed Dad, and I already knew this wouldn't be a pleasant conversation. Alex, my father's voice boomed, skipping any hello. We need your help. It's an emergency. His voice had that familiar, commanding tone that brokered no argument. I sighed, closing the laptop. What is it this time? Mark and I have an incredible opportunity. We need a bridge loan of $150,000. It's a lock. We just need to cover some immediate costs. He paused, and I could practically hear him waiting for me to say yes. Alex, this is for the family. You should be grateful to help. It's not like you have anything else going on. I glanced at my laptop, where a text from my CFO confirmed a $2 million contract had just closed. If only my father knew. We need the money transferred by tomorrow, he continued. You'll need to send it to Mark's account. Don't worry, we'll pay you back. Eventually. My fingers tightened on my phone. The last time they'd said they'd pay me back was for my sister's wedding, a $40,000 bill I'd covered with the promise of repayment that never came. The line went dead. I sat on my couch, memories flooding back like a bitter tide. 15 years of being their financial safety net. Every holiday since I was 20. Alex will cover the dinner while Mark impresses clients. Every birthday, Alex, can you put my new car on your card? We'll pay you back later. Every family gathering where Mark was introduced as our successful son, the entrepreneur, while I was simply, Alex, he's just helping out. The last family party had been the worst. My sister Jessica's lavish wedding, a 200-guest affair at a country club. My parents had told everyone I was between jobs, but generous enough to pay for the entire event. When one of the guests asked what I did for work, my father had actually laughed. Alex doesn't have Mark's business sense, but he's good with numbers. I'd spent hours on the phone with vendors, making sure every detail was perfect for a wedding my family would take full credit for. I stood up and walked to my home office. Inside, carefully protected in a fireproof safe, was my business plan for the app I'd created 5 years ago. My company's name, Ascend Global, was registered as an LLC. For 5 years, I'd built my empire in silence. 500 employees across 3 continents, a client list that included major corporations and venture capital firms. And tomorrow, while my family expected me to wire them a 6-figure sum, I had a meeting that would secure a $100 million Series C funding round. My phone buzzed. A text from Mark. Dad says you're sending the money tomorrow. Don't screw this up. It's a game changer for the family. I looked at my bank account balance. Not this time, I whispered to the empty room. For once, they'd have to figure it out themselves. I had my own future to protect. The irony wasn't lost on me as I got up to make some coffee. 2 clear signs had shown me exactly where I stood in this family, and I'd ignored them for too long. The first sign was their complete lack of curiosity about my life. They never asked about my work, never wondered how I afforded my apartment or my new car. Their assumption was so complete that when I mentioned traveling for business once, my mother had laughed. What business? Are you calling your little freelance coding a business? Now, the second sign was even more blatant. Last summer, I'd visited home to find my childhood bedroom had been converted into an office for Mark's latest failing startup. My books, my trophies, everything that marked my existence in that house was boxed up in the basement. Mark needs the space, my mother had explained as if it were obvious. His business is important. Image matters. Meanwhile, my sister had been given a new luxury car for her birthday, paid for with my money. The message was crystal clear. One son was a resource, the other was invisible. I took a deep breath, remembering my company's holiday party last week. My employees had thrown me a surprise celebration for our most recent contract win. 500 people who saw my value, who respected my leadership. My phone lit up with another text from my mother. Don't forget to send the money. This will benefit all of us. All of us. As if I wasn't already the main financial contributor to the family's lifestyle. The deepest cut was that they'd never even been curious. Not once in 5 years had anyone in my family asked, "So Alex, what exactly do you do all day?" They'd created their own narrative. Poor Alex can't hold down a job, but at least he's always there with a handout. The truth was, my company was now a multi-million-dollar enterprise with a valuation in the hundreds of millions. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my photos. There, I was shaking hands with a senator at a tech conference. There was my team celebrating our second office opening in Dublin. There was the feature article about me in TechCrunch, the quiet innovator behind the next big thing. None of these moments had been shared with my family. I'd learned early on that success without their permission was somehow threatening. The one time I'd mentioned landing a big client, my mother had immediately pivoted to Mark's latest failed pitch for some energy drink. That's nice, dear, but Mark's work is really taking off. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family or been treated like your success doesn't matter, you'll understand why I did what I did next. Drop a comment below. Have you ever had to hide your achievements from toxic family members? I read every comment, and it means the world to know I'm not alone in this. And if you're finding value in this story, please consider subscribing. We're building a community of people who refuse to be used. Now, let me tell you about the text message that changed everything. My phone buzzed with a calendar reminder and reality hit me like cold water. If I stayed silent and played the ATM tomorrow, I'd lose everything I'd worked for. My biggest investor wasn't just another VC firm, it was the one. The meeting was with Sarah Jenkins, a partner at a top-tier firm, at their office. She'd been crystal clear. I'm flying back to Singapore on Thursday. If we don't finalize this in person, my board will go with our second choice. Our second choice, my competitor, who'd been circling this deal like a vulture. But it wasn't just about the money. 500 employees were counting on me. This wasn't just my dream anymore. It was theirs, too. My phone rang. It was my CFO. Alex, just confirming you'll be at the office tomorrow for the presentation with Sarah Jenkins's team. I'll be there, I said. Good. She specifically mentioned she's excited to meet the founder who built such an impressive company without any family money or connections. If she only knew how true that was. My phone pinged with a text from my father. The subject line, urgent. The money. My stomach turned as I opened it. Mark and I have an important meeting tomorrow with a bank manager, Sarah Jenkins, to secure a loan. Don't forget to send the money. This is for the family's future, Alex. Don't embarrass us. I nearly dropped my phone. Sarah Jenkins. The same woman I was meeting with was going to be at a meeting with my parents. My heart raced as I processed this impossible coincidence. The same woman who was about to make me hundreds of millions was going to be at a meeting with my parents, expecting to discuss a loan they needed me to pay for. Another text from my father popped up. Sarah Jenkins is huge in finance. We're hoping to impress her with our new venture. Don't embarrass me with your unreliability. We need you to send the money tonight. I sat down hard on the couch, the weight of the decision crushing me. Send them the money and risk my company, or leave and risk my family's wrath, but secure my future. I picked up my phone and dialed my father's number. He answered on the first ring. Finally, I was starting to worry you weren't taking this seriously. Dad, I can't do it. I'm not sending the money. Silence. Then his voice turned sharp. What do you mean you can't? I have a business meeting. I'm meeting with a top bank manager tomorrow. I have my own business. I'm not sending it. I don't have the money to spare. Don't be ridiculous. What possible business could you have? An important meeting? He actually laughed. Alex, stop being selfish. Your brother needs this. This is for the family. You should have saved your money, I said. Mark and I have a great business idea. You're just being dramatic. I'm being realistic. What do you have to do? Sit in your apartment alone. I looked at my company's projected valuation. I have a business meeting with a major venture capital firm. I'm not canceling it. No, if you don't send this money, don't bother calling us again. The threat hung between us, the same one he'd used so many times before. Usually, it worked. Usually, I caved. Then, I guess this is goodbye, I said quietly. I'm done being the family's ATM. How dare you? You ungrateful. I hung up. My phone immediately exploded with texts from Mark. What did you just do? Dad's having a meltdown. Stop being so dramatic and send the money. I turned off my phone and continued working. They'd figure it out. They always did when they had to. I turned my phone back on to text my sister one thing. It rang immediately. Alex, what is wrong with you? She screeched. Dad's calling all the relatives saying you've lost your mind. Stop lying. Just send the money. I'm not lying. I have a business meeting with Sarah Jenkins tomorrow. Who's that? Dad said he was meeting her. What business? You work from your apartment. I own a company. I'm one of her clients. Sure you do. Her voice dripped with condescension. Look, I'll pay you to help us. How's $500? I almost laughed. My personal consulting fee for a single hour was more than that. This is non-negotiable, Jessica. I'm not sending the money. Dad will disown you. That's his choice. You're really going to ruin our future. I'm being professional. My business requires me to be a steward of my company's funds. I'm not using them for your failed ventures. What business? She screamed. Stop pretending you're something you're not. I have to go, Jessica. My meeting is with Sarah Jenkins. If you do this, you're dead to us. I'm already just a wallet to you. What's the difference? I hung up and turned off my phone completely. On my laptop, I saw a new email from Sarah Jenkins's assistant. Ms. Jenkins is excited to meet you tomorrow. She asked if you would be able to come early to a private brunch with her. It's rare for her to make time for this, but she's very impressed with your company. The next morning, December 26th, I arrived at the bank's corporate office in a three-piece suit. I felt a sense of calm I hadn't known in years. What I didn't expect was to see my father and brother in the waiting room. They looked nervous, adjusting their ties. My father saw me first. Alex, thank God you came. Did you send the money? No, I said. I have my own meeting here. My father laughed. Who would you possibly be meeting with? Just then, a sleek, professionally dressed woman walked out of a conference room. It was Sarah Jenkins. She saw me, her face breaking into a warm smile. Alex, so glad you could make it. We have the best table waiting for us. She turned to my father and brother. Can I help you, gentlemen? My father's eyes widened. You're Sarah Jenkins. We're the Stones. We have a meeting with you about a business loan. Sarah glanced at her clipboard. Ah, yes, Mark Stone and Mr. Stone. She looked back at me. Do you know these gentlemen, Alex? My father jumped in. This is my son, Alex. He's helping us out with this project. He shot me a glare, a silent demand for me to lie. I chose my words carefully. I'm Alex. Yes, I'm their son. Sarah smiled at me. Well, that's a small world. It's wonderful to finally meet the family of one of our most valued clients. She turned back to my father. I'm afraid your appointment isn't for another 20 minutes. We can meet then. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get to my private brunch with Mr. Stone. My father's face went from confusion to utter shock. Mr. Stone? We're the Stones. Yes, she said, looking at me. Alex Stone. He's the CEO of Ascend Global. My father's jaw dropped. He's a CEO? He stammered. He works in his apartment. From what I hear, his home office generates more revenue in a month than most companies in a year. Sarah turned to me again. Ready, Alex? Yes, thank you, Sarah. I'm ready. I walked away, leaving my father and brother standing in the waiting room, completely speechless. The sound of my father's stammering apology and my brother's panicked voice faded behind me as I entered the elevator. The next part is where everything unravels spectacularly. If you've been waiting for the moment when truth meets consequences, you're about to be very satisfied. What would you have done in my position? Would you have revealed yourself right then and there? Or would you have waited for an even more perfect moment? Let me know in the comments. I love hearing different perspectives. And remember, if this story resonates with you, that subscribe button helps us reach others who need to hear it. Now, for the moment that changed absolutely everything. I was having a delightful brunch with Sarah Jenkins. My father and brother were still in the waiting room, hoping to get a meeting with her. During our meal, Sarah's assistant walked up to our table with an iPad. Miss Jenkins, you need to see this. There's a photo from your morning meeting going viral on LinkedIn. Sarah took the iPad, and I watched her face change from curiosity to confusion to complete shock. She looked up at me, then back at the screen. Someone had taken a photo of my father and brother standing in the bank waiting room, looking flustered. The caption read, "Mark Stone and his father, desperate for a bank loan, not knowing the CEO they were begging to meet was their own son, who was having brunch a few feet away." She looked at me and then at her phone again. "Alex," she said slowly, "this is your father." I nodded. "The same man who just called you a failure? The one who said you needed to give him money?" "Yes." The room went completely silent. Her team exchanged glances. "The woman who called you a failure and tried to guilt you into giving them money is your father. My family has no idea about Ascend Global. They think I'm an unemployed freelancing kid." Sarah sat down hard. "Let me understand this. The man who just asked for a $150,000 loan from my bank has no idea his son is a multimillionaire and a top client. He never asked what I do for a living. He just assumes I'm a failure." Sarah started laughing. Not a polite chuckle, but actual, genuine laughter. Oh my God, he spent the entire morning complaining about his disappointing son. And that son is you, the tech genius I've been trying to get a meeting with for months. She looked at her team. Gentlemen, I think we're about to finalize the most interesting investment of our careers. Sarah pulled out her phone again, this time opening Google. I have to know something, she said, typing my name. The search results loaded instantly. Oh my God. The first result was my TechCrunch feature. The second was the announcement of my app's global launch. The third was a Wall Street Journal piece about my company's valuation. Your family doesn't know about any of this? Before I could answer, her assistant rushed in again. Ms. Jenkins, you'll want to see this. The Forbes 30 under 30 list just went live. He projected it onto the boardroom screen. There I was, professional headshot front and center, with the headline, From Invisible to Invaluable, How Alex Stone Built an App Empire Without a Dollar of Family Money. Sarah read the preview aloud. Stone, 35, built Ascend Global from a $500 investment, deliberately avoiding any family connections or support. I wanted to prove that success doesn't require a famous last name or a family handout, Stone states. She looked at me. This goes live tomorrow at midnight tonight. Your family still doesn't know. They will when everyone else does. Sarah stood up. I need to make a phone call. She stepped out of the room. We could see her through the glass, talking animatedly on her phone. She returned 5 minutes later with a strange smile. I just called your father and told him I'd be declining his loan application. He begged me to reconsider, said it was all his son's fault for not helping. Then I told him I'd just secured a $100 million investment with the most talented entrepreneur I know. He asked who. I said, your son, Alex Stone, CEO of Ascend Global. The room was silent. The sound he made, Sarah continued, was like all the air had been sucked out of his lungs. Then he hung up on me. My phone, which I'd kept on silent, showed 47 missed calls in the last 3 minutes, all from my father. Sarah extended her hand across the table. Mr. Stone, let's finalize this deal. I believe we have a partnership to celebrate. As I signed my name, my phone lit up with a text from my father. Your mother just fainted. What the hell is Ascend Global? The deal was finalized, champagne was poured, and my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I finally excused myself to check the messages. Mom, answer your phone now. Mark, is this some kind of sick joke? Dad, your mother is hysterical. Please call us. I walk back into the boardroom where Sarah and her team were still celebrating. My family thinks I'm lying about being a CEO. Sarah's eyes gleamed. Would you like me to send them something? Before I could respond, she was taking a photo of me with the signed contract and the champagne. She typed quickly and hit send. I just posted it on LinkedIn, she said. Tagged Ascend Global, my firm, and your father, Mark Stone, and Jessica Stone. The post read, thrilled to announce our partnership with Ascend Global and their brilliant CEO, Alex Stone. His company's excellence in tech innovation will disrupt the market. Amazing to work with someone who built their empire from scratch. Within minutes, the post had dozens of likes and comments. Industry leaders I'd worked with for years chimed in with congratulations. My phone rang. Jessica, I answered on speaker with Sarah's permission. "This can't be real." Her voice was shaking. "It's real. You've been a CEO this whole time? Why didn't you tell us?" "You never asked. You all assumed I was a failure and treated me accordingly. Mom's having a breakdown. She's calling all her friends trying to explain. Everyone saw Sarah's post. That's not my problem anymore. I'm done. I'm done being invisible until you need money. I'm done being the family disappointment. I'm done pretending to be less than I am to make you comfortable. But we're family. Family doesn't treat each other like an ATM. Call me when you're ready to meet Alex Stone, the CEO, not Alex the wallet." I hung up. Sarah raised her champagne glass. "To boundaries." We all toasted, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly seen. The social consequences came swift and brutal, but not for me. Within 48 hours of Sarah's LinkedIn post, my family's carefully curated reputation had crumbled. My brother's business partners and clients saw the post and started pulling away. My father's golf buddies were asking him how he didn't know his own son was a multimillionaire. The Forbes article had gone viral in our social circle. The headline alone, "Built without a dollar of family money," was damning enough. But the quote that really destroyed them was in the middle of the article. My family assumed I was unemployed. It was easier to build an empire in silence than to fight their assumptions. My father finally called me directly, something he hadn't done in years. "Alex, I need to say something." I waited. "I saw the business registration years ago when mail got mixed up. But your mother was so certain about who you were supposed to be. I should have spoken up. I'm ashamed." It was the most honest thing he'd said to me in years. "Why didn't you?" I asked. "Because it was easier to let her narrative stand than to fight it. I see now that made me complicit. Your success is remarkable, and we missed it because we weren't looking." He paused. "That bank disaster is already local legend. Our family, who bragged about their wealth for years, begging for a loan from the bank that held their son's money. I don't apologize. You didn't hurt us, Alex. We hurt ourselves. We created a story where you were the failure and your brother was the success. And now everyone can see we were blind." While my family dealt with their social catastrophe, my life exploded in the best possible way. The Forbes article had included a photo of me with Sarah, champagne in hand. The contrast to my family's old photo, where I stood in the background, barely visible, wasn't lost on anyone. Within a week of publication, Ascend Global received over 200 inquiries. High-end clients who'd been on the fence suddenly wanted to work with the CEO who built an empire from scratch. My inbox was flooded with interview requests, speaking engagements, and partnership proposals. Sarah Jenkins became my biggest champion. She introduced me to her network, telling everyone the story of the bank disaster with barely concealed glee. "Imagine," she'd say, "having a golden goose and treating it like a servant duck." 3 major contracts came from those introductions alone, worth a combined $10 million. The best moment came when I received an invitation to speak at my old university's School of Business. My dream school, the one my parents had said, was too ambitious for me. The topic: building success without permission, creating your own path. As I reviewed my notes, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "We need to talk, please." I looked at it for a long moment. Then I archived it and went back to planning my future. Success, I'd learned, was the best response to disrespect. But boundaries were the best gift I could give myself. 3 months later, I agreed to meet my family at a neutral location, a quiet restaurant in the city. They looked different, smaller somehow. My mother had lost her imperious edge, my brother his smugness, and my father seemed to have aged years. "Before anyone speaks," I said, setting down a single sheet of paper. "These are my terms." They leaned in to read. 1. Equal respect or no contact. 2. No more asking for money or gifts, ever. 3. Public acknowledgement of my success. 4. Genuine apology, not just words. 5. Therapy. "This is non-negotiable," I continued. "I'll be your son, not your bank account." "Those are my terms." My mother's eyes filled with tears. "Alex, we've lost everything. My reputation, your brother's clients. That's not my responsibility, Mom." "We know," my father interrupted. "We're not here to blame you. We're here to ask for a second chance." My brother spoke for the first time. "I was jealous. You were always smarter than me, but Mom made me feel special by making you feel small. I see how sick that was now." It was the most honest he'd been in years. "I go to therapy now," he added quietly. "The therapist says we created a family system where someone had to be the scapegoat for everyone else to feel successful. You were assigned that role before you could even fight it." My mother reached across the table but didn't touch me. "I'm sorry. Not just for the loan, but for 15 years of blindness. I turned you into a wallet because I couldn't bear that you might be more successful than the life I'd planned for you." I looked at each of them. "I'll consider it, but know this. I'm not coming back to the same family. If we rebuild, it's as equals. And Mom, my consulting rate is $5,000 an hour." For the first time in months, she actually smiled. "Fair." 6 months later, I hosted my first family dinner in my actual apartment. The penthouse with a view of the city skyline that they'd never known existed. As my parents and brother sat at my dining table, being served by my employees who called me boss, the role reversal wasn't lost on anyone. But this wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. "I want to be clear about something," I said, raising my glass. "Success doesn't need permission. Self-worth doesn't require validation. And respect is non-negotiable." My mother nodded. She'd been in therapy for 4 months and had publicly admitted she'd been blind to my success. It didn't repair her reputation, but it began to repair our relationship. My brother's firm had pivoted, and he'd asked professionally, humbly, if I might consider investing in his new venture. I told him to submit a full business proposal like everyone else. He did, and it was good. I was considering it. My father had become my unexpected ally, finally finding his voice after years of silence. He now introduced me as my son, the CEO, with genuine pride. But the biggest change was in me. I no longer hid my success or dimmed my light to make others comfortable. My company had grown to 1,000 employees with locations in 5 cities. The documentary had aired to critical acclaim, and every single morning, I looked in the mirror and reminded myself, I'm Alex Stone, CEO of Ascend Global, not the family's ATM. Never again. Your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. Remember that. Thank you for joining me on this journey from invisible to invaluable. If my story resonated with you, I'd love to hear about a time when you had to choose yourself over family expectations. Drop a comment below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If you believe everyone deserves respect, regardless of their role, please share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, you're not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Until next time, this is Alex, reminding you to know your worth and then add tax.